When it comes to thread, you have a lot of thread to choose from. There are different contents, different sheens, different weights, which is essentially the thickness, how heavy it is. Where do you even begin? Let's start by looking at the first kind of two big categories. Let's look at the content first. And the two big ones that you're going to be dealing with most often are either polyester or rayon. Polyester tends to be a bit stronger. It's color fast, it's chlorine resistant, it can run at higher speeds. It's really handy for that. It's really nice for that kind of uniform work, anything that's going to get really heavily laundered. That's something you might want to consider for that if it's like workwear, anything like that. Rayon is a little bit different. It has a much softer hand. It's got a slightly higher sheen. It's very lovely, but it is far less forgiving. So if there is anything in the digitizing of your design that might cause you a thread break, it's going to be more likely to occur on rayon than it would on polyester. Polyester might be strong enough to kind of get through that little area, where rayon may highlight any flaws in your design, or in any setting you have, or if your needle orientation isn't quite right, polyester may get through it where rayon may not. So it's lovely, has a beautiful sheen, it's just lustrous. It's got a great hand, but it is a little bit less forgiving. Then you get into some kind of specialty threads. There is a thread that has a ceramic component, and it gives it a matte finish. So in dealing with sheens, you've kind of got the shiniest, which is a rayon, and then a little bit less shiny is a poly, and then you have almost a matte finish, which has that ceramic component, and that's kind of an interesting look as well. You might also find that you want kind of a chunkier, heavier look, and that's when you can get into something like a wool acrylic blend or a cotton acrylic blend. These guys are really nice, kind of a warmer look, a little bit more of a hand look. And then you get into kind of metallics and other specialties. They have opalescence and all those kinds of things. This is kind of fun. This is a polyester thread. They have them in rayon too. I just don't have a sample of one where the color's not all the same throughout. So this is just a lot of little different colors. You can create kind of an ombre or a melange of color that way with a variegated thread. This too is an interesting thread. It is a fire-resistant thread, so if you're dealing with things for race car drivers or firefighters, you may want to consider using a thread like this that is fire-resistant. Next, let's talk about the weight of the thread, how thick it is. So kind of standard embroidery, you're going to be dealing with a 40 weight, and all that really kind of means is that it takes 40 kilometers to weigh a kilogram. Doesn't make a ton of sense when you're looking at the numbers and trying to figure out how thick that is. But basically, the higher the number, the thinner the thread. The lower the number, the thicker the thread. And we've got several examples here. These kind of wool and cotton acrylic blends, these tend to be around a 12 weight, so they're really thick and chunky, and again, can give you a nice kind of highlight of a hand almost look, or almost a hand look. The rest of these tend to be around the 40 range. The polyester does come in other weights as well, so I have a couple examples here. Take a look at your thread cards from your suppliers and see what kind of weights they come in. Why would I use a different weight thread? Well, I tend to think about it as the size of paintbrush that I want to use to create my design. If I'm dealing with very fine detail, I may want to use a finer thread. And as far as that goes, a finer needle on a machine, a smaller one. So 75 weight is very, very thin. 60 weight is a bit thicker. 40 weight tends to be kind of the normal embroidery thread for most people. And then, yeah, take a look at your supplier's website. There are lots of options, lots of different weights, and you'll kind of want to tailor that to what you plan to do.